I'm Jacqueline, 29. Standing in the middle of a fancy restaurant, the air thick with tension, I can still feel the sting of betrayal from that fateful day. It was just a week ago when I overheard a conversation that shattered my perception of my family. I grew up in a small town, in a family that seemed like any other on the surface. My parents, Henry and Victoria, were hard working. Dad was a local businessman, always chasing the next big deal, and Mom was a socialite who loved to be involved in community events. My older brother, Ethan, was 4 years my senior. We shared a childhood filled with laughter and dreams, but as we grew older, things started to change. Ethan was a born achiever. From a young age, he excelled in academics, sports, and socializing. He was the golden child, the one my parents boasted about at every gathering. Meanwhile, I had a passion for art and literature. I loved to paint and write stories, but these talents never seemed to earn me the same kind of praise as Ethan's achievements. When Ethan graduated from high school as the valedictorian, our house was filled with congratulatory messages and a grand party. His acceptance to Harvard University was celebrated like a national victory. My parents were over the moon, and their pride was palpable. On the other hand, when I got accepted into a local art college, my parents' reaction was lukewarm at best. "It's nice, dear," Mom said, "but art is a tough field. You should have thought about something more practical." After college, Ethan landed a high-paying job at a prestigious finance firm. His career took off like a rocket, and he quickly became wealthy. He moved into a luxurious penthouse in the city, drove a fancy car, and lived a life of luxury. I, on the other hand, struggled to make ends meet as an art teacher at a local school. My salary barely covered my rent, student loan payments, and basic living expenses. Family gatherings became a constant reminder of the gap between us. Ethan would talk about his latest business deals and expensive vacations, while I would share stories about my students' art projects. But my stories were always met with polite nods and quick subject changes back to Ethan's world. Then, Ethan got engaged to Isabella, a beautiful and wealthy socialite. Their engagement party was held at an exclusive country club. I was thrilled when Ethan asked me to be the maid of honor. I thought it was a sign that despite our different lives, our bond as siblings was still strong. However, the wedding planning quickly turned into a nightmare for me. Isabella had grand plans for a destination wedding in the Maldives. The cost of everything was astronomical. The bridesmaid dresses were designer gowns that cost a fortune, and there were expensive pre-wedding events like a bachelorette party in Las Vegas. I tried to talk to Ethan about my financial struggles, but Isabella was firm on her plans. "This is our special day, and we've dreamed of these details," she said. My parents, who were always eager to please Ethan and Isabella, didn't offer any help. Instead, they expected me to find a way to afford all the expenses. I took on extra tutoring jobs, cut back on my own expenses, and maxed out my credit card. But it was never enough. I was on the verge of a breakdown, feeling like I was being pushed to the limit. That's when I decided to drop off my RSVP cards at my parents' house. I used my key to let myself in when no one answered the doorbell. As I walked towards my dad's study, I heard my name being mentioned. "Jacqueline has been complaining about the wedding expenses again," Dad said, sounding annoyed. "Ethan, you need to stand firm. This is your wedding." "I'm worried about her, Dad." "She's really struggling," Ethan replied, his voice full of concern. "Don't worry about her. She chose this path. Art and teaching don't pay well. She should have made better choices," Dad said dismissively. My heart sank as I listened. Then, the conversation took an even more shocking turn. Ethan asked about the college fund that my parents had promised to save for both of us. Dad cleared his throat uncomfortably and said, "We redirected that money to help Ethan with his business investments. It was a smart decision at the time." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All these years, I thought the money was lost due to market downturns. In reality, it was given to Ethan to further his success. I silently backed away, grabbed my purse, and left the house. The drive home was a blur of tears and anger. I decided to confront my family at a restaurant. I invited them all, and when we sat down, I couldn't hold back my emotions anymore. I told them everything I had heard, and the room fell silent. My parents tried to defend their actions, saying it was all about making practical financial decisions. But I was done listening to their excuses. You've always favored Ethan over me. You've lied to me, and you've made me feel like I'm not good enough, I said, my voice trembling with anger. Ethan, to his credit, seemed genuinely remorseful. He promised to cover all my wedding expenses and to make things right. But it was too late for me. I realized that our family had been built on a foundation of favoritism and lies. I decided not to attend the wedding. I needed time away from my family to heal and to figure out who I was outside of their expectations. In the following weeks, I sought the help of a therapist. She helped me understand that my parents' behavior was a result of their own insecurities and values. I also reconnected with some old friends who reminded me of my worth. A few months later, Ethan came to me. He apologized again and handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for the amount of my remaining student loans. This is restitution, Jacqueline. It should have been yours all along, he said. Slowly, things started to change. My parents began to realize the pain they had caused me. They reached out, albeit tentatively, and we started having more honest conversations. Ethan and Isabella also made efforts to include me in their lives in a more balanced way. A year later, my mom called to ask if she could visit my art studio. As she watched me teach a group of young students, I saw a new kind of respect in her eyes. "You're really good at this, Jacqueline," she said. "My relationship with my family will never be perfect, but we're on a path to healing. I've learned to set boundaries and to value myself for who I am, not for what my family expects me to be. And I know that even in the face of pain and betrayal, there's always a chance for growth and a more authentic connection."